Retirement Tips Radio is brought to you by Business RadioX, the voice of business in your community. Currently serving over 25 markets, the Business RadioX network is growing fast. We're teaming up with retired execs and established entrepreneurs to support and celebrate local business leaders. If you'd like to make additional income while making a difference, discover more at brxteam.com. Now, here's your host.
Lee Cantor here, another episode of Retirement Tips Radio, and this is going to be a fun one. Today we have Barbara Weltman with us, and she is with Big Ideas for Small Business. Welcome, Barbara.
Well, thank you.
Before we get too far into things, tell us about Big Ideas for Small Business. How are you serving folks?
I provide free information for entrepreneurs nationwide through my idea of the day, which is a daily tip, and my blogs, which are twice a week and come out in my monthly newsletter, Big Ideas for Small Business. And I also put out books for consumers and professionals on small business, such as J.K. Lasser's Small Business Taxes, which comes out every year for over 25 years.
So how'd you get into this line of work?
I'm an attorney by trade, and I've been practicing for many years. And when I decided to stop practicing, I segued into writing full time, and that's what I continue to do now.
So then how did you kind of center around small business?
That was the core of my clients while I was practicing. I was helping my clients set up businesses, incorporate, do estate planning, and buy-sell agreements for their businesses, and deal with the challenges of running small businesses, particularly tax and issues and other issues that many small business owners face.
Do you find that in today's business climate, there's a lot of folks that maybe have recently gotten laid off or nearing retirement, either voluntarily or involuntarily, and they're considering being a small business person, maybe making that shift into having have worked for someone for their entire career to now maybe going at it on their own?
Well, you're absolutely right. Some people have been essentially forced into retirement during this pandemic because they've been furloughed or laid off permanently, and they may be thinking of going into business as their second act, if you will, as another career. I think whether people who retire decide to start a business or perhaps seek another job really depends on a lot of factors, personal and financial. I think some people need to start a business or get a second job because their finances are such that Social Security, their savings, their retirement accounts just can't give them the kind of retirement with the financial security that they want.
So do you think finances are what's driving it, not the fact that they may want to they realize maybe I haven't left the impact that I thought I would be doing?
Well, some people like me have spent a career, a whole lifetime learning about something, and they can use the skills and knowledge they have to go into another type of career that's sort of related but not identical. So, for example, I use my legal expertise to do the writing that I do now. And I think that people may do that because they love the challenge. They're not the kind of people who want to be golfing all the time or something. They want to be working, and this is a great way to do it. And I think that what's interesting to me, what's most interesting, is that seniors who start businesses are twice as likely to succeed as millennials. And this is perhaps due to the fact that seniors are more conservative with managing their money. They've been doing it for a longer period of time, and so they're more likely to become successful.
Are you finding in the community that you serve that that this is a fear of people maybe nearing retirement, that maybe I don't have enough money, or maybe I'm not ready yet to give up that status of being, I work for, ABC large company. And then once I leave, I hope they remember me. They may not remember me. I might not be able to get phone calls returned as quickly. like there's a bunch of maybe fears, maybe they're not true, but maybe they're things that seniors think about as they approach retirement?
I'm sure that's so. I think that seniors may be concerned that they're going to be sidelined from important activities, and they want to kind of stay in the game, if you will. But I think that unfortunately, a lot of people nearing retirement don't give a lot of thought to it. They don't really drill down to what it's going to mean to be retired in terms of how they're spending their time, how they're going to be interacting with their spouses who may or may not also be retired, and what their finances are going to look like. So I think that really the issue is that people don't spend enough time thinking about this.
Really? That's kind of amazing to me, that I would think that as you're leading up to it, that's all you're thinking about is trying to make that transition as smoothly as possible. But some people, you think that the day happens, whether voluntary or involuntarily, they're now retired, and then they're now going, okay, now what do I do?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that's true. And certainly during this pandemic period when people have been forced into retirement, that's more true than ever. And I think that we need to help people understand what retirement involves and what they need to be thinking about in terms of looking ahead to retirement and the opportunities that retirement presents.
So let's focus on the positive and let's talk about the opportunities. What are some opportunities maybe a new retiree isn't thinking about, but that is available to them?
One of the things about retirement, especially for people who are 65 and older, is that they have access to Medicare. And that's a big deal because it means that their health care is covered, and then they don't have to be concerned about the job or a business providing health coverage for them, which we all know if you need to do it on your own outside of an employer situation, it can be very pricey. And so I think that's one burden that's off your mind, because you have the Medicare coverage. I think if you decide to continue working past your 65th birthday, I think you have to keep in mind how Medicare interacts with insurance that may be provided by an employer. So depending on the size of the employer, Medicare may be your primary or your secondary coverage, and you really kind of have to understand this and be informed about it, and so that you can make the right choices on what you're going to be paying toward employer provided coverage.
Now, what about some of the distributions that you're able to make as you get into your 60s? Is that something that you should be considering as well?
People have worked a lifetime to build up money in their qualified retirement plans and IRAs. And as you are in retirement, you can tap into these accounts to the extent that you need them. Of course, once you get to a certain age, you're required to take minimum distributions. It just so happens due to COVID-19, there are no required minimum distributions in 2020. So 2020 is sort of a non-year for that rule. But once you're past 59 and a half, there's no penalty for taking money out of your 401k or your IRA, whether or not you're working. So you can tap into that money to the extent that you need it. Again, you're going to have to start at some point drawing it down. And the good thing is that you've been saving for a lifetime. This is providing you with some cushion of income in your retirement years, so that if you want to, for example, start a business, you have that income cushion there for you between Social Security and your retirement benefits, so that even if the business doesn't immediately become profitable, at least you have income coming in. Or if you choose to, in retirement, just pursue part-time work, again, here's an extra cushion of financial security for you.
Well, as someone who is kind of living out what you're recommending for your community, is if you could do anything over again, is there anything you would do over again as you took on this second act and took on this website? Or is there maybe some advice you can share that helped you through this?
I think the important thing is that if you want to continue to stay in the game, if you want to keep working in your so-called retirement years and not retire, if you want to have a business, you have to keep learning. You have to keep at it and keep your skill set fresh. You have to stay up on technology. I know that for me, it's certainly been challenging to keep up with changing technology. I think that's a big deal. But another aspect of this, and another lesson learned, if you will, is the opportunity to mentor younger workers. And that's very rewarding and very something that you can really enjoy in your older years, that you've had all this experience and you can share it with younger workers. And certainly there's plenty of things you can learn from millennials to help you if you're continuing to work.
So now for you and your business, what is the most rewarding part of it? Is it that you're making money, having a big deal? Is that rewarding? Is it mentoring someone? Is it helping a senior maybe kind of take the leap into the world of being an entrepreneur?
For me, it's really being able to help entrepreneurs across the country with the amount of information that's out there and being able to help them get some key information quickly so that they know when they need to turn to their professionals, whether they're accountants, attorneys, insurance agents, or other professionals. And that's been kind of the driving force behind what I do. My company's mission statement is, we make entrepreneurs smarter. And that's just what I kind of like to do. I really, I enjoy doing that. And the other thing that I really enjoy is staying connected with so many people that I've made business connections with through the years. I've been working with people for 30 years or longer in some cases, and we still are in contact, and they're still working, I'm still working, and that's been a really rewarding aspect of this.
Can you share a story about one of the people you've worked with and maybe help them kind of navigate through this terrain?
I'm not sure what kind.
Just through the use of that have maybe tapped into your website, got some information, and maybe reached out to you, and you were able to help them through, kind of making their idea into a reality.
Sure, I actually hear from people almost every day, and I don't do consulting anymore. After closing my law practice, I decided I wasn't going to do consulting anymore. But what I do provide is I'm able to help people get the information they need. I share the links and websites and referrals to other professionals to help individuals achieve what they want, get the answers that they need. And for example, I heard from somebody the other day who had this idea for a business and he hadn't even started yet. And he had retired from the military and was now looking for a second career. And so I was able to help him, put him in the right direction with some of the issues that he was presenting.
And then for you, if you would have had this resource in this community earlier in your career, do you think your career would have been different?
It's so hard to go back, because when you go back and look at, perhaps you can relate to this, that technology has changed everything. The internet has changed everything. The ability to tap into information now is so different from when we used to have to physically go to a library, take a book off the shelf, and look things up. And so certainly I think where we are now, it's a much easier place to navigate in terms of obtaining the information that we need. Who could have envisioned this back then? I didn't.
Now, is there any trends you see moving forward? Any business trends other than just surviving this pandemic? Are there things that when you look out, maybe in your crystal ball, that you say where there might be some opportunity?
I think the opportunity is with the individual, and the individual needs to keep in mind that I think we've learned a lot of lessons here through this pandemic, that you have to be able to pivot in business and make some changes and adapt to the landscape. And certainly you have to kind of really want to do it. If you're near retirement age, so many people, I know of many business owners who have given up, that they were at retirement age and they just, because of the pandemic, they've had enough. They don't want to have the hassle and the challenge that's present right now. But then I know a lot of other business owners of the same age who are, like me, deciding to move forward and are determined to make things work. But certainly being flexible, being adaptable, that's really what's going to make people successful going forward. Because who knows what the future is going to bring.
Right. And it is making you resilient. I mean, the thing is, every day you have to do something, And just because you say you're retired, you still got to fill the day, and you might as well fill it with things that are rewarding and helping people.
Absolutely, absolutely, and certainly when you get to the end of the day, for example, every day is different. I never know from when I'm starting my day to when I'm finishing my day what's going to happen. I have certain routines that I like to do. But for example, I'll get a call from a reporter. I just 2 days ago, I did an NPR, a quick off the cuff kind of interview, and that happens. And there's all new information every day to read about and learn about. And so it's an enjoyable way for me to spend my days.
Right. And just because you're at the age that some people retire doesn't mean retirement's for everybody. You can define retirement in your own terms.
I think that's a great way to put it, that everybody has to decide, each person has to decide what's going to work best for this situation, for what your personality is, what your finances are, what your health is all about, if you have a spouse or a partner, what that means. And there are so many variables in making the decision about what you're going to do in retirement, but certainly there's opportunity to continue working and continuing with business.
Well, Barbara, thank you so much for sharing your story and for being such a great resource for the folks that are out there and exploring business, maybe for the first time for some of these people. If somebody wants to learn more about your website, your books, your blog, all that stuff, what's the best website for them to go to?
Just go to bigideasforsmallbusiness.com, and it's all there. You can sign up for my free information, and you can read the blogs and see my books and more.
Good stuff. Well, thank you again for sharing your story, Barbara. You're doing such important work, and we appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, this is Lee Cantor. We will see you all next time on Retirement Tips Radio.
Retirement Tips Radio is brought to you by Business RadioX, the voice of business in your community. Currently serving over 25 markets, the Business RadioX network is growing fast. We're teaming up with retired execs and established entrepreneurs to support and celebrate local business leaders. If you'd like to make additional income while making a difference, discover more at brxteam.com.